They mocked the woman in 12F, until she saved the Arab billionaire from a stroke. The plane buzzed with the soft hum of engines, the clinking of glasses, and the chatter of passengers settling into their long flight from London to Dubai. It was a journey many had taken countless times, but for the woman sitting quietly in seat 12F, this flight would be unlike any other. Her name was Amira, a modestly dressed nurse in her mid-30s. She wore a simple headscarf, her clothes were plain, and she kept her head low. She wasn't flashy like some of the other passengers in business class. She wasn't adorned with jewelry, nor did she flaunt designer brands. To the people around her, she was invisible, or worse, a target of quiet ridicule. From the moment Amira sat down, whispers floated around her. Who let her in business class? Looks like she belongs in economy, sneered a well-dressed woman across the aisle, her diamond bracelet sparkling under the cabin lights. She probably got an upgrade out of pity, another man chuckled, sipping his champagne. Amira heard every word, but she stayed silent. Years as a nurse had taught her patience, with pain, with ignorance, with arrogance. She pressed her hands together in her lap and whispered a small prayer for strength. The flight attendants, though polite, didn't give her the same eager attention they offered the wealthier passengers. Trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres passed her by, but she didn't complain. She asked only for water and quietly stared out the window as the plane soared into the night sky. The billionaire in first class. A few rows ahead, in seat 1A, sat Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, a powerful Arab billionaire known across the world for his business empire. His presence commanded respect everywhere he went. The staff attended to him as if he were royalty, passengers sneaking glances at him with awe and curiosity. Khalid was in his late 50s, tall and imposing, with streaks of silver in his beard. Despite his wealth, his eyes betrayed a deep weariness. He had been pushing himself too hard, ignoring his health, consumed by meetings and contracts that never ended. For most passengers, it was a dream just to be near such a man. But fate had prepared something very different for him tonight. The flight had been smooth for the first few hours. Dinner was served, lights dimmed, and passengers settled into a quiet rhythm. Amira was reading a medical journal she had tucked into her small bag, her mind always hungry to learn. Then, suddenly, a commotion erupted in the front cabin. A glass fell to the floor with a sharp crash. A cry rang out, gasps followed, passengers craned their necks. In seat 1A, Sheikh Khalid clutched his chest, his face pale, his eyes wide with panic. His right arm dangled weakly, his mouth struggled to form words, but they came out slurred and broken. "He's having a heart attack," someone shouted. "No, it looks like a stroke," another passenger corrected, panic rising in the air. The flight attendants rushed to his side, but they were trembling, unsure of what to do. They asked over the intercom, "Is there a doctor on board? Please, if anyone is medically trained, come forward immediately." The cabin fell into silence. Not a single hand was raised. People looked at one another, helpless, whispering prayers or recording the scene on their phones. Amira closed her eyes for a second. She knew this was her moment, the reason she was on this flight. She rose from her seat, her scarf slipping slightly as she pushed past the stunned passengers who had mocked her just hours ago. "I'm a nurse," she said firmly, her voice steady. "I can help." The wealthy woman who had sneered at her earlier blinked in disbelief. "You, a nurse?" she scoffed, but Amira ignored her and moved forward. The attendants hesitated only a moment before stepping aside. Time was slipping away, and this man's life depended on action. She knelt beside Sheikh Khalid, her hands moving with precision. "Sir, can you hear me? Blink if you understand me." His eyelids fluttered once. She checked his pulse, his breathing, his pupils. Every movement was quick but controlled, her training guiding her like second nature. "He's having a stroke," she announced. "We need to act now." With calm authority, Amira directed the attendants. "Bring me aspirin immediately, and water. Tilt his head slightly, don't let him lie flat. We need oxygen, now." The attendants scrambled, following her instructions. Amira gently massaged Khalid's hand, speaking to him in soothing tones. "Stay with me. You are strong, you will get through this." She used what limited equipment was available on the plane, a portable oxygen tank, a first aid kit, to stabilize him. She monitored his breathing, kept his airway clear, and made sure he didn't lose consciousness. Minutes stretched into an eternity, but under her care, Sheikh Khalid's condition began to stabilize. The slurred words softened, his breathing evened out. His eyes, though heavy, locked onto hers with gratitude. For the first time in his powerful life, he was utterly vulnerable, and it was the quiet woman from 12F who had saved him. The cabin, once filled with panic, now held a stunned silence. All eyes were on Amira, the woman they had mocked, the woman they had dismissed as unworthy of even sitting among them. The wealthy woman with the diamond bracelet whispered, she saved him. The man who had laughed earlier lowered his head in shame. And the flight attendants, who had overlooked her at first, now looked at her with reverence, hanging on her every word as she continued to monitor the billionaire. For the rest of the flight, Amira remained at Khalid's side, refusing rest, keeping him stable until the plane could land. The landing. When the plane finally touched down in Dubai, paramedics were waiting on the tarmac. Under Amira's guidance, they carefully transferred Khalid to a stretcher. Before they wheeled him away, he gripped her hand weakly and whispered, "You saved my life. I will never forget this." Tears filled Amira's eyes, but she only nodded. "It's my duty. Take care of yourself." As he was taken away, the passengers turned to her. Some tried to apologize. Others simply bowed their heads in shame. The woman with the diamond bracelet reached for Amira's hand, but Amira quietly pulled away, too humble to seek validation. A week later, Amira thought the incident was behind her. She returned to her small apartment, back to her modest life, back to her shifts at the local hospital. She never expected anything in return for what she did on that plane. Saving lives was her calling, her duty. But one evening, there was a knock at her door. When she opened it, she gasped. Standing there was Sheikh Khalid himself, healthier, dressed in elegant white robes. His guard stood a respectful distance behind him. "Miss Amira," he said softly, "I searched for you. I owed you my life. And I repay my debts." She tried to protest, but he lifted his hand. "No, you gave me a second chance at life. You showed me that wealth and power mean nothing when health is lost. You reminded me of the value of compassion." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter offering her a position as the head nurse of his private hospital in Dubai, with a salary beyond anything she had ever dreamed. But more than money, there was something else in his eyes: respect. The story of the woman in 12F spread like wildfire across the region. Newspapers carried the headline, "Unknown Nurse Saves Billionaire Sheikh on Flight, a Lesson in Humanity." Those who had mocked her were humbled. And passengers everywhere were reminded of the truth Amira had lived by her whole life. Sparkles never judge someone by their appearance. The quietest soul may hold the greatest strength. And from that day forward, Amira walked with her head held a little higher, not because she had saved a billionaire, but because she had reminded the world that kindness, humility, and courage are worth more than all the diamonds in the sky.